Thanks for joining me again, guys. It's nice to have you here. I'm just going to pick up from where I left off. The last time I'd started these petals, and I was really just getting a feel for the paper at that point, and I'd moved on and filled in some of these green leaves. What I have in my hand now is light yellow glaze in the Faber-Castell Polychromos range, and I'm going to use this for my background. So all I want to do is start filling in this section round where we've coloured just to make this green pop. And after that, I'm going to stick to the same colours apart from the centre part of the flower, which I will come to later. Although the background is textured and it adds interest to the piece, I just feel that I wanted the whole page covered. I don't know why I have that inclination, but I just do. So I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to start. So I'll see how this goes, but I'm certain that this colour is a good choice, just from my, my colour combination knowledge now as it is. Interestingly, I have done a video on that in the Colouring for Beginners series. In fact, I'll put a link to it up in the corner, so if it's something that you're interested in, it's a really easy way to pick out colours that go well together without any hassle, without having to have any background knowledge of colour theory and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, in the meantime, we'll get going. Again, it's quite interesting. If you've seen the first video of this, if you saw the first part, you will know that there was a difference in how the pencil was going onto the paper between the pinky purple colours and the green. Putting the green down seemed to come much easier, and I didn't need to use my blending pencil quite so much. And I'm kind of having the same thing with the yellow. Now I know there is a difference in laydown to do with pigment, and that's quite common, and it's just the components that make up that particular colour. So this is very pleasant, and it's not nearly as much work as the pinks and purples. I have just realised I do not have anything down underneath this page. Naughty Gem. I'm going to end up wrecking my colouring book. Pop that in there. There we go. Better. Yes. So there is not a lot going on the farm today, which is a first. We're kind of into the calm before the storm now. All of our lambing pens are set up and we are ready to go, and we have about a week before we're expecting our first lambs. I'm just hoping that the weather is going to hold out and we're not going to get any more snow, because as you can imagine, snow and lambs do not go well together at all. So fingers crossed, here's hoping. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. As I said in the last video, the weather is very, very changeable in Scotland, and you've just got to wait and see what's coming to you and then try and sort of deal with it accordingly. But that's fine, we're used to it by now. We did have 1 year, I think, I'm trying to remember, I think it was 2013, and we had terrible, terrible snow, and we were on the west coast at that time of Scotland. We now live on the east coast, and the west coast is slightly warmer and wetter, and on the west coast you don't experience nearly as much snow as you get over this side. It just tends to rain. And I'd said to my partner, who is English, that, oh, you know, these snow forecasts, don't worry about it, you don't see a lot of snow on the west coast. And I was literally made to eat my words. We got this huge dump of snow, and not only did we have to rescue our neighbours with a tractor and pull their vehicles out where they'd got stuck in the road on the way up, because we were at the top of a hill, but we ended up having to go out on foot into the fields and we were literally digging sheep out with shovels. They were snowed in. They'd gone in behind some of like the sort of hillocks, you know, the lumps and bumps of the landscape to try and shelter themselves. And the wind was so bad that the snow just drifted on top of them. And we found them all huddled in together in a group. And they were all alive. I was absolutely astonished. I was expecting to, you know, to dig out some severely dead sheep. And I think we only lost one or two. Now that sounds terrible, you know, we only lost one or two, but you're talking about hundreds of sheep stuck in, you know, in under a snowdrift. So, and it wasn't just, you know, an hour or two, because obviously we had to wait until the storms had died down before we could go out, number one, so that we could see what we were doing, and number two, for our own safety as well. That was wild. That was a wild winter. We also lost our pickup in the snow as well. We had to abandon it coming along the road simply because we couldn't get any further in it. And to not be able to get through snow in a truck like that, it's quite sort of unsettling, and we ended up having to walk the mile or so back to the house. We just abandoned the truck where it was in the yard, and we went back the next morning once the winds had died down, and we couldn't see the truck. It wasn't there. There was just this big mountain of snow. And it took 3 days before we could see the top of it again. The aerial started poking out eventually. So that was when we thought, oh, there it is, and started trying to dig it out again. Absolutely mental. Just no other, I've never seen snow like that on the West Coast. Never. I kind of come to expect it a bit more often here on this side, over on the east. And the snow that we've just had with Storm Emma was pretty bad. Still don't think it was as bad as that winter in 2013 though, because we didn't have to dig any sheep out this time. Hopefully we won't have to either. You know, let's just not be doing that at all. So yeah, blinking weather. Alright, I'm going to shift back now. I was just looking to see how the yellow is going to look next to my pinky purples and my greens, and I am quite happy with it. I'm a bit disappointed that the green isn't showing up as well on camera as it does to the naked eyeball, but yeah, I'm happy that it's quite pretty. I'm just going to go down and do these little leaves here. Oh, I need a sharpener again. Here we go. You think that by now I would have, like, you know, prepared properly and had all my pencils nice and sharp and ready to go. Apparently not. Oh, that didn't do that. That didn't go well at all. Okay. We'll see how we go. Yeah, we're okay. We're fine. I had a bit of Prismacolor paranoia there. I thought the same thing was happening to my polychromos. And sometimes you sharpen a pencil and you're not entirely convinced that the lead isn't going to break. That's what I just had. Let's say that's a common occurrence with Prismacolors, as I'm sure you're perfectly aware. They're just awful. I do like my Prismacolors to a degree. Oh, I don't want to give you my Prismacolor rant, that's not fair. Yeah, shush, Jem, we'll just not talk about that. I do like my Prismacolors, I do use them. I still prefer Polychromos pencils though. And we'll just leave it at that, I think. We shall just leave it at that. Oh, this feels nice. Yeah, so I'm not in the market for any more art supplies right now. You really don't want to read all my work stuff under the bottom of that. Yeah, I've put myself on a bit of a, the word ban's quite severe, but I've basically stopped myself buying any more art supplies right now. My wedding is now 16 weeks away, and there are a few bits and bobs that really need sorting out and could do with some money spent in that department rather than buying pencils and paint and things. So I just decided that enough's enough for now. My March scroller box is due anytime, so I'll have new things to play with from my scroller boxes for the next few months. I don't need to be buying stuff. Also as well, I have finally completed my collection of chameleon markers. I am waiting on the last set of 5 pens arriving in the mail, which will hopefully be in the next few days as well. And then I am going to swatch those out, and I'm going to do it on camera for anybody who has maybe had an interest in buying them but would like to see the range of colours, or if you just like to watch that kind of thing when you're drawing or colouring and you like to have, you know, something on in the background on YouTube or whatever. I will certainly do that when they arrive. So that will be quite cool. I do have plenty of videos in the pipeline, so we will not be short of material even though I am on a supply buying hiatus. And it's only temporary. It's only temporary. It'll not be long before I'll be back to my usual let's buy this and try this and see what happens. Nothing ventured, nothing gained and all that jazz. Everyone said to me before we decided to get married, when anyone talked about weddings, they're like, oh, you don't realise, but it comes in so quickly. Even if you're engaged for a year, before you know where you are, the wedding's arrived. And I'm looking at all these people who are, you know, a year from where they want to get married, and they're all going nuts and, you know, ordering wedding dresses and booking venues and photographers. And I'm like, your wedding is like 365 days away. What are you doing, you crazy people? And then I went to look at things myself and I went, oh, okay, so because everyone else is crazy, that means I've got to be crazy too. Great. It is very true though, for anybody out there who's not married or is thinking of getting married, when you come down to, well, so far for me the panic really only set in just after Christmas, and I realised, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's things I should be doing by now. I was very lucky. I tripped over my wedding dress, not literally, by accident. I was only going to try on a few styles of dress just to see what suited me, because I am a complete tomboy. I don't like wearing dresses at the best of times, let alone a wedding dress. And it just happened to be one of the first ones that I tried on. I was like, oh, this one. So that was easy, which I was really pleased about, because I think I would have ended up like a, you know, a sort of tantruming toddler if I didn't find something. I was like, I don't want to wear a dress. So I'm quite glad that that worked out like that, and we've been really lucky. Everything's just sort of fallen into place, but now we're getting into the nitty gritty. And it's all the sort of tedious, frivolous things. My wedding coordinator was pressuring me, shall we say, about giving people name cards on their tables, and this table that was going to sit at the door of the wedding breakfast room, and she was saying, and you know, and what do you want to put on this table? And I was like, I don't care what you put on the table. I was like, Pippa, just do what you want with the table. Well, she's like, oh, well, we could do this or we could do this, but we normally have teas and coffees sitting on it. And I was like, well, if that makes it easier for you guys, just put the tea and coffee on it. No one's going to notice it. No one's going to try and sit down at it because there's no chairs around it. And it's exactly that kind of thing where I just cannot be bothered with weddings. I am not interested. We all have clothes to wear, we have beds to sleep in, we have the necessary bits and pieces in place so that we can actually get married. Everything else is surplus to requirements. I mean, really, I don't care what, you know, what you want to do with the napkin colour scheme. Oh dear. Can you tell that I wanted to run away to, you know, the Caribbean and just get married and get the dustman as our witness? Yeah, so it's not stressing me out though. I'm okay about it, but I'm quite laid back and I'm not interested in all the sort of fussy details. So everyone else round about me that gets excited about weddings, I've let them get excited about the fussy things and just said, yeah, just get on with it. I am a low maintenance bride, that is for sure. Which is much to the relief of my partner. I'm convinced, and he jokingly says actually, but I think he means it, you know, when people talk about having to take their girlfriends shopping and they end up sitting bored out their skulls outside a changing room while they try on like 12 zillion things. James loves me because I hate shopping. Yeah, that's one of my more favourable attributes, is the fact that I don't like to go shopping, and even if I do, I wouldn't take him with me. I just go get what I have to get and come home, and that's it. Apparently that is a favourable trait for a future wife, so I think I'm winning. I would love to hear everybody else's shopping habits. I'm a great online shopper. I'm quite happy shopping online. Just don't try and make me go into an actual store, especially when it's clothes shopping. I hate going food shopping, but that is a necessary evil sometimes. So yeah, I kind of have to do that one. But I'm just fascinated by the fact that some people absolutely love it and some people hate it. So I would love to hear if y'all are lovers or haters of the old shopping. I have to say, this is going down really, really well. This colour is so good. I love you, Polychromos. Lovely stuff. Try and get in all my nooks and crannies. I think once I've done the whole background, I'll go over it with another layer. I'm not too fussed on it being any brighter than that. I'm quite happy with the, you know, the shade, is that even the right phrase? The depth of the colour. Just because it is the background. But it's just if, you know, I can catch any little patchy bits by just going back over it again. As I'm sitting colouring here and I'm going over this background, this reminds me of like the really horrible old-fashioned anaglypta wallpaper that you used to get, you know, the really bobbly stuff that was oh so popular in the 80s, and you used to buy it in big and the rolls were like this thick, you know, they were like this size, and it's because it was such thick wallpaper, and people used to paint them all sorts of horrendous colours once they'd put it up on the wall. I remember it well because my childhood home was a very, very old house, and the plaster work was the old lath and plaster, and it was one of those ones where you didn't take off the wallpaper that was underneath. You know, if you were going to put new wallpaper on, you don't strip the old wallpaper off because you just didn't know what was going to be behind it. So the answer to that was, yeah, let's just paper over it with this, like, you know, like mattress thick wallpaper and then paint it and everything will be fine. And I just, oh, it was horrid stuff. We also had a house rabbit at one point, and she liked to chew the bobbly bits off the about the inch and a bit above the skirting board. So anaglypta wallpaper wasn't good to look at, but it was obviously tasty. When I think about it, to be fair, I don't think the rabbit was that fussy because she pretty much ate everything. She was house trained. She used to go in a litter tray. So quite often in the winter she would be inside, you know, maybe of an afternoon or an evening, and she would just rumble about the house. But she did eat an awful lot of household objects. We had to lift up all the cables for the telephone and the lamps, and we had to sort of like hook them up over the corners of picture frames and things because she had a tendency to chew things like that, and obviously you don't want an electrocuted rabbit. So yeah, that was fun. And our other favourite was chewing on the skirting boards. That was, she loved that. And you wouldn't know she was doing it. You'd be sitting watching TV, and that tiny little silence, the little gap in sound between the advert finishing and the programme starting back up, there's just this tiny little snippet of silence, and all you could hear was this sort of gnawing munch 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 noise coming from in behind the sofa where the rabbit was behind the sofa chewing away on the skirting boards. It was funny. Well, I found it funny because I was only a small child. My mum didn't find it funny because the rabbit was ruining her skirting boards. She was an awesome rabbit. I loved her. She was so cool. I don't think I would have another rabbit though. We are primarily, well not primarily, we are a dog household now. At one point we did have a cat as well, but she was old, and eventually we had to put her to sleep, and I said that once she went we wouldn't get another cat. Although our dogs were fine with the cat and the cat was fine with the dogs, it's just an awful lot of hassle when you're a busy person. It's another routine to try and take into account, and it's, you know, people say to me, oh, but you've got so, you know, at the time anyway we had 3 dogs, and people are like, oh, you've got 3 dogs, you know, what difference does a cat make? And I'm like, I would have 5 dogs over that one cat, just for the simple fact that with dogs you tend to be in the same routine, you walk them all at the same time, everybody gets fed at the same time, although not necessarily the same food, and it's, you know, you can adjust the routine just to incorporate another one, so to speak. But the cat was just an absolute nightmare in terms of her maintenance level. She was always wanting in and out the back door, was forever going and opening and closing the door, and in the winter that's not good at all. And she wouldn't eat her food all at once, and I couldn't leave the bowl on the floor because the littlest dog's a greedy little monkey, and she was through trying to eat the food, and if she did eat the food it made her sick, so I was then cleaning up dog vomit as well as the cat going hungry because the dog had ate all her food, and so on and so forth it goes. It was just too much. So, you know, I said after that, I was like, no, we're not having another cat. If we had outside cats on the farm, I would be quite happy to feed them at the back door, or in one of the sheds. I would be okay with that, but I wouldn't have another cat as a pet. Not now. It's bad enough with the dogs. Well, it's actually not too bad with the dogs just now. We've got only 2 dogs just now. Normally we have 3. We have 2 working collies, so that's basically a main dog and a backup dog, but they do take turns at going out to work, so it stops them tiring, especially in the summer when it's warm. But we lost our main girl just before the new year there, and we haven't replaced her yet, and she was my girl, she was my dog, so I'm still finding it kind of tough. Yeah, she was just my dog. She looked after me. She was very protective of me, and we went through a lot together. We did a lot of stuff together, and I still find it a bit weird that she's not here now. So poor Jock, who is our remaining collie, he's having to do all the work this year at lambing. But we will be looking at getting another collie after the wedding. We decided there was no point in doing it before the wedding. It's just going to be hassle, and Jock's fit enough to manage lambing on his own this year. Lambing on his own, that makes it sound like we're going to send Jock out to go to work and we're going to sit with our feet up. I mean the sheep work. Jock will be okay on his own. He's still quite a young dog. He's not even 6 yet, so he's still got plenty of life left in him. He's plenty of energy. So yeah, and little Jack Russell, she's retired now. She's 13 and she's still bumbling along, quite the thing, but she spends all day in the house now. She used to be a great dog for catching rats and mice, and she still got it. We actually had her out in the shed a couple of months ago, and she caught a few mice for us, so she still got it. But you know, she's more of a lady of leisure these days. So yeah, it's kind of strange only having 2 dogs in the house now, after, you know, being used to having 3 for so long, especially with Mist, because Mist was like the most needy dog ever. She was one of these dogs that she had to have your full attention all the time, and if she didn't, she would like try and climb up in your lap, you know, like a small dog would, and she just wanted to be loved. That's all she wanted. She just wanted cuddles, and she wanted to be loved. I always said that when she sat beside you, you know, she'd like paw your face, and you know, if you'd stopped petting her. And I always said that if Mist could get any closer to you, she would climb inside you if she was able to. That's how much she just loved people. But yeah, so yeah, we miss her a lot, and goodness knows what we're gonna get when we get a new dog. that'll be interesting. It's been a long time since I've had a puppy, and I don't know if I want to go through the puppy stage again. But we'll wait and see. When we got both Mist and Jock, they were actually half trained, and Jock was 16 months when we got him, and Mist was 18 months. So I didn't have to go through all the puppy stage with them, which was nice. However, they had picked up quite a few bad habits, and they also weren't house trained, as a lot of working dogs aren't. We're quite unique in the sense that as farmers we keep our working dogs indoors with us. We just don't think that it does them any harm. And an old-fashioned farmer will say to you, oh, you'll make that dog soft, meaning that they won't be hardy enough to work outside in the cold and things. And it has never been any detriment to either of our dogs, because both our dogs are good working dogs, and it's never done them any harm being inside. It lets them get dried off and stops them, being damp in a kennel, because obviously if they're not getting dried off properly, that's how they end up with arthritis at a really early age. So I just don't see the point in kenneling a dog outside when they can be inside. Now granted, when they are absolutely filthy, they don't get over the threshold of the porch door. They don't get into the main part of the house. But in the porch there is a radiator, and there's a couple of old blankets, and there's a mat on the floor so the dogs can lie there. They've got somewhere to lie, they've got water, until they've dried off a bit and we give them a brush. So yeah, confined to the porch if they're stinky, but other than that they are welcome in our house the same way as anybody else is. So there you go, there's my rambling story about my working dogs. Oh, if any of you are animal lovers, I'd love to hear in the comments about your pets. I love all sorts of animals, obviously. That's one of the reasons that I have had dogs, cats, rabbits, all that kind of stuff. So tell me about your pet and show me some pictures. That'd be awesome, I'd love that. Alright, so the background looks pretty good to me. I'm quite happy with that. It is a little bit patchy, but because of the texture of, well, it's not the texture, the insinuated texture, no, the implied texture of the paper, it actually looks okay patchy. I'm not too displeased with that. I'll maybe give it another coat. I'm going to go back to my petals now and do a little bit more on them, I think. Just a reminder then, if you're thinking about doing this yourself, or you just like the colour combination, it is a very predictable colour combination. I have magenta, which is my darkest shade. I have middle purple pink, which is my middle shade, surprise surprise, and my palest one is light purple pink. So they're the three that I'm working with on all of these beautiful petals. I'm quite glad I left my white round the edge here now. It just makes it stand out quite nicely. I think I'm going to go for the same idea over here as well. Just give it that little bit of contrast. There we go. Yeah, I'm back to having to work really hard to get pencil and paper here. Oh, I was spoiled with my light yellow glaze. I'll start scribbling away, keep on scribbling. Here we go, really light layers. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of this darkest colour down in round here, just right along the edge of that other petal. And again, that's more just for depth than anything. I'll start blending this out with this one. There we are. Do you know, speaking of dogs, I've just realised it's really quiet in the cave. Normally, if I'm in here, I have at least one canine floating about somewhere, but And there's actually 2 dogs in the house just now, and I can't hear or see either of them. That's actually arousing a level of suspicion. It's a bit like toddlers, if they're quiet, you know they're up to something they shouldn't be. Oh my. I'll see how long it takes before I'm paranoid and I have to go and check on them. They might just be sleeping though, I might be worrying for nothing. They are quite well behaved generally speaking, I can't complain. Now this part in here, yeah, I can't really do much with this. I'm just going to have to go in with the magenta, because it's quite hard to distinguish what part belongs to, you know, which petal in these little sections. And I don't want to be lazy and just like block it all in and say, ah, it's all dark anyway. But I think that looks right, because this part here looks as if it's all one petal. Perhaps. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. I'm really enjoying having this cross hatching to play with. It gives you a bit of like sort of artistic license, but a guideline at the same time, which is really nice. You can choose to completely ignore them and they will give an element of shading to your picture anyway, or you can, you know, you can go with them, and yeah, it's really nice to have that option. I quite like it. Again, I'm just stopping slightly short of the line work there, just to give that little white edge, that little bit of contrast. I've said it before, we have this compulsion to fill in every single, you know, white space on a piece of paper, and sometimes actually the white can be your friend, just for that little bit of contrast. So don't be frightened to leave a little bit of white every now and then. Now in here I'm imagining that is going to be really dark, because that's right in at the centre, and there's not going to be a lot of light hitting that part in here. So I think that the hatching's absolutely spot on. Just try and get that down in there. And the lightest colour again up here. We'll blend that in a little bit. As I'm sitting here scribbling away, I'm looking around for my blender pencil. I've got about 4 or 5 of them all in various places, but I actually can't find one at all. I've usually got one on my desk. I've got a little you know, pencil jar that sits on my desk, and it's just not there. So that means I'm going to have to go rooting about for it. This part here looks like it's folded over. So I'm going to put like a little dark line there. Just, oh damn, I've gone over the lines. Just to suggest that that has indeed folded over. And I'll just blend that in here, so no white part there if that's folded over. And then I'll sharpen this pencil again. My not polychromos sharpener. Oh. Yay. And what I'll do is I'm just going to, I'll zoom you in a little bit so that you can see a little bit better. I'm just going to put a tiny pink edge down here and then fade it out towards the top again, thinking, you know, more about the light hitting the, you know, that part of the petal. Same, that is quite a tiny little space though. Oh, too far. Where were we? I don't even know where we were. We were about there somewhere, were we? Is that too far? My hand looks huge. There we go. I have found a blender pencil. And I picked out a slightly brighter yellow, the cadmium yellow, and I'm going to pick out a green for this part in the middle. So I've picked out a permanent green to go with the cadmium yellow for this part in the centre. So I'm just going to fill that in. I feel like it needs to be done. I did say that I do jump about a lot. It's just because I get bored using the same pencil all the time. I like to change colours. Just do that in there. So that's just a really light layer of the yellow. I deliberately chose a different yellow. I didn't want to use the same yellow as the background because I did want obviously this to stand out more because it is the main focus of the piece, you know. So I thought a brighter yellow would be more appropriate. There we go. And put a little bit of that in there as well. That looks good. Quite happy with that. Now I might just pick out a sort of yellowy orange. And I'm not going to go around every individual part, but I just want to add a little accent of orange here and there. It's kind of hard for the camera to pick that out. Can you see it now? Whoa. Always kind of freaks me out seeing my hands that close up. This is not natural. It's not, especially say with my poor work-worn hands just now. They are quite clean though, although they are really like knackered, my nails especially, my hands are actually quite clean. That's a mole, that's not dirt guys, that's a mole. But yeah, my hands are quite clean. I think you would be appalled if you saw my hands sometimes when I've just come in from outside. Oh, they don't smell great either. Oh dear. Okay, so I just to pick out a few, that is quite a sort of swooshy swirly area, and I just wanted to, you know, pick that out a little bit more so that it gives it a bit more definition. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Now see, I kind of want to complete the circle round. That's made me want to finish all those inner petals. This is why I like to chop and change, you see, because it spurs me on. I think I'm just going to make this part in here really dark. I've just realised I haven't coloured it at all. There's hardly any white of the paper showing through, to be fair. There we go. And the same with this part here. There's just not, you know, there's only so much you can do with these really heavily hatched parts. But conversely, it is one of the things that actually drew me to these images in this book in the first place. I really, really, really love this book. I have lots of books that I like. I am very selective about my colouring books, and I do like all of my books. In fact, I'd say I love a lot of my books actually, but I do find, and I'm not trying to insult any of the people that have brought out colouring books, but a lot of them are, you know, much of a muchness. And if it's something that you like to colour, say for example, you like to colour frogs, and you're happy colouring frogs all day long, that's great. For me, I'm okay with stuff like that for a while, and then I get kind of bored of it and I'm looking for something else. So I like to have different styles to jump back and forth between in it, so I don't get that sort of stale, oh, here's another, you know, here's another leaf to colour. And finding books like this just absolutely, you know, it makes my day. Because although yes, I am colouring a flower and I am colouring leaves, they're different. They're just different, and I like things that are different. It's one of the reasons my two favourite illustrators are, or artists if you want to call them that, whatever, I'm not fussy, is Bennett Klein and Kirby Rosanes. They are my two absolute favourites. I just think they've got the most amazing imaginations, and to be able to translate that into works of art in the fashion that they do them in is just fabulous. I absolutely love them. I'd love to hear everybody else's favourites. I'm always really quite interested to hear, you know, other people's preferences, and, you know, if they're a fan of a particular artist. And also as well, I'm always looking for new ideas, I'm always looking for new books. They have to be high quality though. One thing, I mean, I will try my hand at colouring most things. You know, I'll give it a go. I'll try anything once. I'm quite adventurous that way. I can't colour mandalas or repeating patterns. I appreciate that for some people it's very relaxing because there's no thought that goes into it. It absolutely bores me rigid. I can't do it. I've tried twice and I'm just like, no, this is not happening. Please don't make me do this. It feels like torture. Slow, painful, repetitive torture. I obviously need a bit more stimulation when it comes to colouring. There was a page in, I'm trying to think now, An Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford. Now, that is the book I am working in front to back. And it was a page of acorns. And it was the first time I'd really coloured anything repetitive. And it was absolute torture, and it took me ages because I did like half an acorn and then left it for 3 days because I didn't want to do it again. I found it really, really tough going. I really did. And after that page was finished, I never, ever, ever wanted to colour another acorn ever again. And when I looked at the next page, guess what was on it? You got it, another acorn. I was like, oh no, not again. It was only 1 or 2, I think, though, from what I remember. So, yeah, so Gem, not a fan of the patterns and, you know, repeating things. You can keep that. It is funny how we're all different and we all have our own preferences though. Oh, there we go, there's the flappy ears. The little dog is awake. She must have been sleeping. I'm just waiting to see if she's going to come in and see me. No. Sometimes as well when I'm filming in the cave, she just comes and sits at the door and eyeballs me. You know, she gives me that sort of side eye as if to say, why the hell are you talking to yourself? What are you doing that's so important? Why are you not looking at me and loving me and petting me? Either that or she's thinking, you're sitting at that blinking desk again. I do spend a scary amount of time sitting at this desk. I really do. Between work and arty pursuits. One of my other hobbies is writing. So that obviously entails sitting here as well. I never tire over this. It is my favourite room in the house. Probably just as well, really. Oh dear. Okay, my little circle is nearing completion. I've only got this little bit to do in this one down here, and then we have a completed ring of petals. That's exciting. There we go. Now, I'm trying to watch the angle of my shading here. I think that I'm just going to follow the hatching here. That's probably the safest idea. There we go. Ta-da! We've gone all the way round. How exciting! Deep in concentration here. I was just trying to figure out what part belonged to which petal. That was why I was concentrating so hard. Super duper. I am so hungry right now. Do you know that? I'm hungry. It's not time to eat. The first thing I do if I'm in that position is I make myself a cup of tea. Tea fixes everything, and I know it is apparently a very British thing. I do like coffee, I just don't drink a lot of it. I am very much a tea person, and I like my tea. And I drink massive, massive mugs of tea. I have a pint mug. You know, most people will drink a pint of beer. Jem drinks a pint of tea. Well, I'm quite partial to a tipple as well. But during the day it's generally not all that socially acceptable. I suppose, to be fair, no one would ever know. But maybe apart from my partner, he might be able to figure out that I've been on the booze. But yeah, for me it's tea. I like tea. We have the debate about tea bags with nearly everybody, and again, this is such a British thing, the tea bag debate. I will absolutely not wander from Yorkshire tea bags. They make a really strong cup of tea, and I love strong tea. And I can really tell the difference when I go to, you know, like a friend's house or whatever, and they use another lesser tea bag. It's really obvious to me, and I'm just like, oh man, this tea tastes so watery. Of course, I'm far too polite to say anything. I would never say anything to anybody, especially when they've been nice enough to make me tea in the first place. Do you know, that just reminds me of something else. I would like to know, for any of my viewers who live in the United States, I would like to know, do you guys have a kettle, a tea kettle that goes on the stove, or do you have an electric kettle that plugs in to a socket. Now, there is a reason for me asking this. I have a critique group that I am part of for my writing, and a lot of the guys in that are resident in the States. And I wrote a short story and I had put it up for critique in our little group, and obviously part of the story, the character was making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the story, and I'd put in that the kettle clicked, and all of my American critique buddies were like, I don't know why did the kettle click, what's so special about that? And I'm like, well, the kettle, the kettle's turning itself off. And they were like, oh, you mean an electric kettle, like it was some sort of, like strange artifact. Now, I need to know, I need to find this out because it's really bothering me, it's annoying me. In the UK, we mostly have electric kettles. We do have stovetop kettles, it's not like we don't have them, but they're seen more as a sort of it would kind of like be your spare kettle if you're, for when your electricity went off, or a special kettle for when you had guests in, because they take forever to heat up. You can boil the same amount of water in an electric kettle in about a third of the time than compared to the stovetop kettles. And I think maybe we've just adopted them because we do drink so much in the way of tea, because obviously, again, if the US as a nation tend to be more coffee drinkers, and a lot of people have coffee machines in their house, so maybe that's why they never adopted the electric kettle. But if you have any insight into this kettle mystery, please enlighten me and put me out of my misery, because I really found it puzzling to have to explain to the people reading my short story that it was an electric kettle, and that's what they do in the UK, and that's kind of par for the course. So yeah, please solve that mystery for me. I never thought I'd be talking about kettle theory while I was colouring, goodness me. It's really made me want a cup of tea. I'm going to have to go and get tea, guys. I'll be back, but I'm going to get tea. There we go. Tea in less than 4 minutes. Electric kettles, way forward. There I was up here. I was just looking to see where I'd stopped. I was like, oh, I can't find where I'd stopped. That was in my mad, rabid hankering for tea. Forgot where I was going. How was that for mastery? Did you like that? I realised in some of these leaves I didn't leaves. Why do I keep saying leaves? I've got leaves on the brain. Some of these petals I didn't leave a white edge. And I'm just using my little eraser to try and kind of like put them back in. That's better. Tea. when I went through to make tea, I checked on my dogs, and small dog is in her bed in the kitchen, curled up, fast asleep. Our sheepdog is in the lounge on the sofa with a blanket and a cushion, fast asleep. I'm like, you're supposed to be like a hardened sheepdog. Why are you up there? And when I spoke to him, he climbed down off the couch and lay on the floor. I swear blind, that dog knows exactly what I'm saying to him. They're clever dogs, collies. I didn't give him into trouble or anything though. He's not been out at work this afternoon, so he's quite clean. He's allowed up on the furniture when he's clean. Right. Just wondering whether that's dark enough in there or where because this petal is tucked in behind these two, I feel like it should be darker, you know, further up these sides here. I'll maybe just add in a little bit of this darker colour. Again, just to, you know, send it to the back, send it further away. I'll try that, that might work. I might come back to that one. Do this one now. I'm not actually making a conscious decision as to where I'm changing over from the mid-tone to the light tone. I'm just sort of feeling my way along with the darkest colour and then going from there. I know that's not very scientific or technical or even helpful to anybody, but I seem to do it better just to work out where I want the you know, the darker shade and the lighter shade as I go along. I've figured it. I was really paranoid the last time that I coloured this picture. I was really paranoid about the light source. You can see when I put my hand in there, it's lightening up, and I've figured out what it is that's doing it. It's because the line work in the picture's so dark. That's what's causing the issue. So yeah, I can't do anything about that. I'm afraid it's just my camera being a diva. I hope it isn't detracting from your colouring viewing experience too much though. Okay, I'm just going to give this a little bit of a blend. I have noticed in the darker hatching areas as well that the blender pencil is picking up the ink from the line work and it's making it a bit muddy, so I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful. Try and blend in between the lines if you can do such a thing. There we go. Again, that's just a note for you if you're thinking about this book, or if you have this book already, you might want to go easy with the blender. Alright guys, that's looking quite good. I am going to stop there and I'm going to go and drink my tea. Thanks for coming along for the ride again today. I reckon another little session should finish this, so you can keep your eye out for that in the near future. So thanks again. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That's really important to me just now, as my channel is in its infancy. If you like what you see and you want to see more of the same thing, please let me know in the comments below, and you can subscribe as well. Just hit the button, and hopefully we'll see you again soon in the colour cave. Bye guys.